Pretty Little Liars Original Sin sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we are back.
We're back.
With 2 new episodes of Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. And update, they will not be renewing the show.
Yeah.
So once we do summer school, it's all over. And that does make me sad because one of the things I really appreciate about this show is that men are bad. And it really focuses on the specific like horror and trauma and horrific feelings of men and like the men who you interact with at your job, like your boss, or the men you interact with at the police department, or wherever you are. Like all of these men are usually kind of bad, and it's in the show. And I mean, and it shows like how someone can be like super nice to some people and super mean to others, or just an absolute monster the whole way through, like Sheriff Beasley. And I think that's really important. Like if you're going to talk about these types of things, so like make it kind of realistic in that way. And that's it. Like there's a lot of fucking creepers out there.
You're right.
And how terrifying it is. Like it really gives you the, like as a woman, I feel like I do as a woman outside in the world. I'm like, oh, I am scared for these girls because these men are so bad.
It really, because it is slasher, it really captures the horror. Where you would kind of get that in the other shows, this is much more of like the existential terror of that, of being a woman in the world.
But A was always a woman in the other show.
Yes.
And in this, the true villains have been men. Whereas in A, I mean, I guess like we did have like in Pretty Little Liars, you had Wilden, you know what I mean? There were lots of monsters too, but.
Yeah. It's more open to it, so yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see who A is, but it really, I think to your point, the vibe of the show and the genre of the show really captures that existential horror. Everything feels like a threat, and I think they do a good job doing that in this episode too. So
yeah, that's why I think like this is a good time to be like, oh yeah, that's something they did really well. And I mean, we haven't watched Summer School yet, but it does make me sad that there's going to be no more.
Yeah,
because I was finally kind of enjoying it.
Totally. Yeah, it's a real bummer. And I think I think you could probably say for every single show we've watched that it deserved to get more.
Yes. Well,
even Ravenswood.
Are you trying to say Ravenswood deserved more?
Putting words in your mouth.
Are you trying to say Ravenswood deserved more episodes? Yeah.
It left off at a really interesting point.
It left off at a weird place. Yeah, but they took a back alley and a side street and off-roaded to get there. So like Ravenswood was not planned out well. I don't know what happened when they were writing that show, but not to beat a dead horse. Like, I'm like, it got better, but like it shouldn't have had to have gotten better that late in the game.
Yeah.
The Perfectionist though, I feel like once again deserved more. I don't think it performed that well, but it seems like this was performing really well.
For that's like the general vibe I got too.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked up the stats. I don't actually know.
This is a Max original, so it's streaming. So you don't know. They give you impressions maybe, and they'll do like top this week, and that it seems like it was in the top for like quite a few weeks there when we were watching regular PLL or the Perfectionist and stuff through Max because we'd see it every time it pop up. So it just sucks.
It does suck.
I was surprised that it even survived the culling of when Zaslav took over, the guy who essentially made HBO Max now Max and had like shuttered a bunch of things. Like tons of things got canceled. So I was surprised it made it through that. But yeah, I'm assuming it was maybe already moving forward. I don't know. I don't know the details, but I started looking at an article and I'm like, I can't read this. It's gonna give me spoilers.
Yeah. No, you're not allowed to read things.
Yeah. So,
but
R.I.P.
Yeah. For now, we still have it.
And just judging by this series, give it another couple of years and we'll have another one.
Yeah. The thing about Pretty Little Liars is it's kind of like what are the plants that like they like reseed themselves? You know what I mean? Like it's a plant that just keeps bringing itself back. Like there's gonna be something new.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna be like, you know what? Actually, we will bring this back 4 years from now.
Right. Exactly. It's just funny that like I had thought it was like these long distances before we did the show between all the different shows, and it's 2 years.
We just did a lot in that time, as people. So
that's true.
A lot happened to us.
Exactly.
So therefore, it was a long time.
Indeed.
Well, are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got episodes or chapter, because that is one thing that I feel like almost everything done by this creator is he does chapters instead of episode.
Oh.
I think because it's like comic books. Like the comic books are always like chapter.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Riverdale's are chapters, and
Sabrina's, I think,
are definitely chapters.
Yeah. So
we'd have to like double check, but
if you're a Roberto fan out there, then you've got lots of stuff in this episode, and also for past PLL stuff.
Yeah, we get some good like nods. We get a weird nod, and I do have a deep question about Eddie Lamb when we get to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll cover that when we get to it. I think these were fantastic episodes, so I'm excited to jump in. Chapter 6, Scars. Tabby and Imogen sit in Tabby's room. Oh, yeah. Also, really look at those content warnings this episode. For this show, pretty much every episode, but this episode especially. All right. So Tabby and Imogen sit in Tabby's room talking about the night of Tabby's sexual assault. Over summer, she was working late at the Orpheum, and a group of jocks came in, and Greg invited her, was one of them, and invited her out to the bonfire party in the woods. Tabby goes to the party, and she drinks a little bit, but didn't think she drank too much and got dizzy and lightheaded. Next thing she remembers, she's deeper in the woods, away from everybody else, and eventually she was on the ground, someone on top of her. Imogen asked if it was Tyler. Tabby said thought it might, but like I looked him up and he was on a family vacation that night. Imogen asked if Tabby told her mom, and Tabby's like, I didn't tell anybody until now. Imogen didn't know who assaulted her either. Tabby assures her that she doesn't have to talk about it now if she doesn't want to, and Imogen says she's not ready. Imogen asked Tabby to come with her tomorrow after school to see Joseph England, the man who is claiming to know something about Angela and their moms. Faran talks to Miss Clark. So they pull in character names for like the minor characters on this. That it's like, oh, thank you, fandom, because she's at dance class about adding fabric to her corset. Miss Clark's like, what's the problem? And Faran shows her back, and it's like, okay, I'll add some mesh. Madame Giry announces that she's invited the director of repertoire at ABT, Madame Lorraine, to their premiere of Swan Lake, and also will be critiquing anybody who is, valiant enough to perform in front of her.
To perform a variation.
Faran stops Kelly to apologize for saying shit to her at Imogen's party. Kelly snaps back that when she told Giry about the horrible shit Faran spewed at her, that Giry was ready to throw her out of Swan Lake, but the only reason Faran's still in is because Kelly told her not to. Ash talks to Mouse at the lockers and agrees to go, and asks her to go bowling with him tomorrow night, and she agrees. Coach calls Noah into her office and is like, hey, we got a spot opened up on the track team. Girl fractured her foot. Noah's like, I'm sorry. Like, I have a lot going on at home right now. Maybe in the spring. We get a title card. Pittsburgh. Corey walks to her cubicle and finds a red box addressed to her. She opens it to find a tattoo gun that is seeping red liquid with a card that... What's going on?
I don't know. I heard a weird noise coming from the back where the dog was.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's going to bark at you.
Okay, let's find out. She opens to find a tattoo gun that is seeping red liquid with a card that says, some scars you see, some you don't, but they all hurt. 1999. Corey and Angela sit inside a tattoo shop, and Corey gets Angela to get a tattoo of her initial on her shoulder. Angela's initial on her shoulder, not Corey's. Angela has her tattoo finished, so it's like this calligraphied A, but then finds Corey completely missing. Back in the present, Corey shoves the box under a desk and moves nervously around in her chair. At Millwood High, Henry and Faran eat lunch together. He asks about her back, assuming it's an accident. She tells him she had scoliosis and had corrective surgery when she was 8. He's like, 8? That's a little young. When her first teacher saw the curve in her spine, her mom rushed her to a doctor. And he's like, was the surgery the only option? And she's like, it was, but I still have some back pain, but it's manageable. Imogen and Tabby walk through the train yard and find Joseph, who calls himself Crazy Joe. Imogen brings up Angela Waters, and he admits that he was in love with her.
Wait, hold on. Just imagine what descriptor would you give yourself? You're like,
who am I?
Yeah, who are you when you're living at the train tracks?
Oh, living down at the train tracks?
I mean, I guess you don't have to live down at the train tracks.
I'm sorry. If I'm living at the train tracks, it's a train name. I'm Conductor Brenton.
Oh my God, that's so good.
That's right.
What am I?
Engineer Emily.
Oh, yeah. All my engineering. We'd have
It's a
such
show
cute...
right now. It's a kid show.
We'd have such cute little hats.
Oh, we'd have great hats.
Herman would look so cute in a little conductor hat.
You would be the one with the stripies.
Okay.
And I'd be going down being like, got your ticket? So I'm just in the solid blue.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
We love a train. Okay. It's a crazy joke. Imogen brings up Angela Waters and Joseph admits he was in love with her. They didn't date, but they were fellow misfits and friends until they're the group of, it girls, so their mothers took her from her. Joe tried to warn her about them, but she didn't listen. Tabby asks if he knows why Angela killed himself. He thinks it's because she couldn't keep up with the girls. Imogen asks about Angela's family. Her mother, Rose, was the only one. After she died, Rose snapped and showed up to Millwood High with an old kitchen butcher knife and tried to attack a group of boys. One of the teachers... Yeah, especially when we find out about the assault. One of the teachers stopped her before anyone was hurt. They took her away to an asylum called Radley Sanitarium in Rosewood. Imogen and Tabby leave and discuss going to Radley to hopefully find Rose. Back at Millwood High, Kelly talks to Greg on the stage and they're alone. It looks like after school. She asks where he ran off to after they hook up. He was chewed out by Tabby, who Kelly heard punch Tyler in the face. He confirms that it was just Tyler's nose and that Tyler must be so embarrassed because he hasn't been at school since. That's right. That's the thinking mind.
I love the way the boys think.
It's so funny.
They're so smart.
Greg tries to kiss Kelly, but she denies him. She's like, well, we both missed my sister, and that's why we kissed at the party. He's like, I don't really think I miss her, but that's because I was actually into you, babe. He kisses her, and they continue to kiss as he lays her down on the stage. She tells him to stop multiple times, but he doesn't until she pushes him off. And she's like, if you want a chance in hell with me, you're going to show up tomorrow at Swan Lake in the front row with flowers. He stares at her for a moment, really creepily, and then walks off, but both are unaware that A was watching them from off stage. Noah and Sean. So then A decides to go after her? I have some questions. Noah and Sean are at Noah's place, and he asks why she turned down the spot on the track team. She's like, well, my mom got fired from the hospital for stealing drugs, and I need to be around to make sure she keeps clean. Sean's like, you've given up so much for your mom already. She's like, well, you don't understand. Your parents are perfect. You would have no idea what it's like to live with an addict. That seems like a shoe that's going to drop later. It's a disease, and she can't turn her back on her mom. Mouse is in her room when Steve video calls her. She answers and reminds him of the rules. It's one encounter and that's it. She did it to give him one last memory with Rachel, and he has to be okay with that. He says he understands, and she closes the computer. Noah delivers her urine sample to Nurse Simmons, who's like, oh, I heard about your mom's dismissal, and then says if there's anything that she can do to help, she'll try and call the charge nurse and see if she can help Marjorie get her job back. Little Liars gather at the library with Imogen filling in the group on what she and Tabby learned from Crazy Joe. Imogen wants to skip the rest of the day and go on a road trip to Rosewood to find someone who knows Rosewater, or maybe even herself. Or Rose, not herself. Faran's like, well, I can't because ABT's here, and there's a little thing called Swan Lake tomorrow. Noah's like, well, I have to keep an eye on my mom. And Mouse is like, I have a date with Ash. Is this the scene? Because it's not in the notes. And I think it's crazy that they omitted this from the fandom summary. Is this the scene where Tabby goes, wow, he's like a teen Cole Sprouse?
I believe so. And I wrote that down
both
because
of us visibly recoiled on the couch.
We had visceral reactions. One, because we are close to age, give or take, which means that we're old. Two, I think he's a little bit older than me. I can't remember. But
I think he's right around our age.
Yeah, he's somewhere in there.
Oof.
But two, don't get me wrong. When we first start Riverdale, I loved early Cole Sprouse in Riverdale. And I think he was doing really well. The acting's pretty good. We'll have to see when we watch it. But I was like, yeah, this is a vibe. But he becomes the most insufferable character. And it seems like he, as a person, interviews in a way which is also not necessarily the most palatable.
Yeah, he looks like he acts like he's this tortured, mysterious artist, and it just comes off as pretentious.
And it's very Yeah, it almost feels like he's trying to be condescending while also being like, I had this very troubled, hard upbringing, which I believe the latter is true.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I do not think they had a nice, easy childhood. Like, I mean, you know, but it doesn't make him very likable. And do people have to be likable? No, and there's a lot, you know, I wouldn't.
This is just our opinion. It's two people's opinion.
Exactly. And it's.
They call that a podcast.
Well, like, I don't know him. Like, you know what I mean? He's never done anything that I'm like, wow, this man is awful. I mean, he fumbled Lily Reinhart, I believe. So, like, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what their lives look like. I don't know these people at all. And I just feel like maybe we could have thought of a non-Cole Sprouse. Like, KJ Appa was right there.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the red hair.
No, and he doesn't. He's
not shredded.
It's like when it's supposed to. Yeah, I guess like it's that he's kind of like nerdy. Is that like the vibe they're going with? He doesn't look like Cole Sprouse either to me.
No.
So I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't quite get that. I guess maybe that he is like this. Like, I guess maybe that doing that like kind of like aloof, mysterious kind of like artistic.
It also doesn't make sense. So in this universe, we have. We have the Sisters of Quiet Mercy in Riverdale, and we have Rosewood, and we have Cole Sprouse.
Yeah,
so Cole Sprouse the person, and Cole Sprouse as Jughead, and we know in every timeline from Riverdale, this is a spoiler, that Jughead is always Cole Sprouse. Because of how Jughead is in, I don't know, all the timeline. I'm confused.
It's that is actually really funny. Cole Sprouse shouldn't exist.
He shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
That's what I think got me. It like takes me out of the universe when you bring in famous people that aren't like relevant. Like Misty Copeland is relevant to the plot because she is relevant to the plot. Sorry. That's not what I meant. I'm trying to be so nice and I'm just like foot and mouth. No, but like Missy Copeland's relevant to the plot because she's a ballerina and we're talking about Faran. She's a ballerina and she's a black ballerina. Like there's lots to that makes sense. Or like, I don't know if they even brought up like Meryl Streep. You know what I mean? Like someone, but when it's like someone who's a little bit more contemporary, I'm always like, why are they here?
Well, it's also in the show they play a character in the show that's in the connected universe to this show that they directly tie ties to.
But it's not technically in the same universe, I believe, because there's no magic.
In this area, this is going to be long and complicated when we get to stuff later. But Riverdale exists.
Yes, a version of Riverdale exists.
Yeah.
But my theory on this, and we can talk about it when we get to Rosewood, is that because Eddie Lamb, spoiler, is recast for this. And my theory is this a different timeline? Is that the Eddie Lamb of this timeline? Is that why the Radley looks different in this timeline?
I guess that's fair.
It's like a fun explanation for we're not going to use the same sets.
Exactly.
Couldn't get access to the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Or, it's torn down or whatever. I don't think we ever really saw the outside of the Radley besides a gate.
Right. I guess the only thing, well, yeah. I mean, the potential explanation for sure. Yeah, but you'll hear lots more about this in future episodes. The little liars gather in the library with Emmett. Oh, wait, already. Blah, 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 blah. Noah rushes home to tell Marjorie that Nurse Simmons called Millwood and they will hire her back if she goes to rehab for 30 days. Marjorie's like, well, I think I'm doing good. And Noah's like, you're not. Ever since I've like known you, you've been like on some kind of drug. And I thought when I took the fall for you that I was actually helping you and that you'd hit bottom, but instead I just hit bottom. And Marjorie's like, okay, I'll go to rehab. At Millwood High, Faran performs for the class, and her mom is there, and Madame Lorraine. Madame Lorraine's like, wow, you favor your left side. Did you have an injury? And then Kelly's like, well, she had like scoliosis. And then she's like, well, in that case, I'm even more impressed. And it's like, ha ha ha. Tabby and Imogen arrive at the Radley. The girls ask at the front desk for information about the hotel before it was a hotel. Hey, do you have information on when this was a sanitarium? And the guy's like, no, but maybe our maintenance manager, Eddie Lamb, but he won't be in until tomorrow morning. Tabby's like, well, we can wait. And he's like, well, the lobby's only for guests. And Imogen's like, well, how about this big wad of cash? And they get a nice room. Over in Millwood, Marjorie answers her door to Sean. He chews her out for making Noah's life worse. And he knows that Noah took the fall for drug addiction. And he's like, if you care about Noah at all, you should stop dragging her down before it's too late. The Bryants all go to dinner at Pinball Pizza, and Corey's like, you showed everybody there, and including that Beasley trash, who brought up your scoliosis. And she's like, you know what? Now I'm thinking, now that you're older, we can actually get you to get rid of that scar. And I know a great plastic surgeon, or I found a great plastic surgeon in town. And then Faran's dad, Zeke, is like, excuse me? And Faran's like, I don't know. It might be a good idea. And he's like, well, I only want you to do this if this is what you want. And Faran seems to think it is. And then Corey's like, well, I already made you an appointment for tomorrow morning. And then goes, mother knows best. Tabby and Imogen lounge in bed.
Good Mother Gothel moment. I love that.
Thank you so much. Tabby and Imogen lounge in bed. Imogen wants to stay in bed while Tabby plans to go out. Ash and Mouse go bowling together, and then Mouse sees Steve laying down, so sends Ash to go get nachos. She confronts Steve, and he's like, well, I didn't follow you here. And he calls her Rachel, and she's like, please, like, stop calling me that. She's sorry that Rachel was taken from him and wanted to comfort him, but that's over now, so, like, you have to stay away. Ash walks over and is like, who's this? And he's like, I'm her dad. And then Mouse is playing along, and it's like, but it's a long story. I'm not feeling well, and I want to get out of here, so he helps her leave. Noah comes home and Marjorie confronts her about Sean stopping by and is like, oh, I've made your life so horrible. And I didn't tell you that you shouldn't go out for the track meet, but you know what? You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to go to rehab. I even got a job at a pizza place. Would someone that's hitting rock bottom not go to rehab? I wouldn't think so. You don't have to worry about me ever again. Tabby walks into the town bookstore, which is called Ezra's Books.
Because she's in Rosewood.
Mm-hmm. You know, a little sign there. A jock from Rosewood High School.
They had to not. Why'd they name everything with an R? I'm like Rosewood, Ravenswood, Riverdale. I'm gonna be so confused.
They really do. At least there's Millwood, which I always forget.
I don't know the name of the town we're in.
So you got to put an R on there.
So I can forget it.
Yeah, there's a jock from Rosewood High School. They all wear Letterman jackets now. And he's like, hey,
we never saw a Letterman jacket.
Not a single Letterman jacket.
Except for maybe like on Emily as like a varsity jacket, like fashion statement.
Roberto takes over and he's like, Letterman jackets.
Letterman jackets and student lounges.
Yes, we need Americana all over this place.
Which I've never been in a school that had a student lounge, especially not one with a couch.
Also, this is in the next episode, but we never had the like take care of a baby.
I wouldn't have health class.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, wow.
They did that during PE, and some years when they were protesting Planned Parenthood, amongst other organizations, you just didn't get sex ed in the same way.
That's American.
Or they just held up poster boards of what venereal diseases looked like.
Okay, yeah, that's rough.
That didn't happen to you?
I did. Well, no, I did at least have a dedicated health class in 8th grade. And we did see on the board venereal diseases.
We had one where they pull you out of class. In 5th grade, they do the one where they teach you about your period.
Yeah.
And then in 8th grade, they kind of do it again. 7th or 8th grade, basically. And they I don't know what else they touch. And they do something else for the boys. You know, they separate you by gender. But
so we did 8th grade health class, but nothing in high school.
And then in high school, freshman year, I believe, is when you get the STD posters.
Damn. Bummer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't have any of that in PE. We just walked the track.
They also did they did that at one semester, and then the other semester, it was only for like a week, or whatever. Another semester they did drugs.
Oh, interesting.
Like they had someone come in that was like, yeah, I used to do like meth, and this is what it felt like, and this, this is how long it took me to get clean. And I mean, it was like interesting, but I do remember listening to him talk, and I was like, I've never wanted to do drugs until this moment in my life. So I don't think, and that's not, you know what I mean? There's no, you don't want to be addicted to meth, but like, I just remember being like, he's making this sound too good for what this is supposed to be.
You're like, I could use some more energy.
Like, I'm a little tired today. No, but we also had, because we had done the DARE program, and then I did the GREAT program, but that was about not joining gangs too. That was about gang violence.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that.
I've done many, many programs, and I'm not in a gang.
Yeah. Look at you. And you're not on drugs, so.
Not currently.
There you go.
They never have to do like stuff like that. There's no dare program in any of these shows.
No, do they still do dare?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it was a waste of time, but other than having the cartoon dog in a trench coat. That's all I remember. McGruff.
Oh, I did not like the officer that did dare. Shocked no one. And he was just really annoying, and that's what I remember about it. I was like, and you're in like 4th grade. You're like, I'm not gonna. No one's offering me drugs.
Oh man, it's gonna be really scary.
Especially like I went to like at that point I went to like a school in town, so it was like it was still a public school, but it was probably in like one of the, it wasn't a super nice neighborhood. It's not a very fancy town, but like it was like, I was like, these kids are not the kids that are like in any scenario where they're being offered drugs. Like,
right.
Even when I went to my little country school, like I was like, I don't think people are offering us drugs. Most of these kids' parents own dairies. They're not like in any scenario. I mean, I guess maybe those are the people, like, I don't know who.
Rich kids do.
Rich kids do drugs. Yeah. Like
they can afford
party drugs. Yeah. I mean, that's what I learned in college. I had never been offered drugs until college.
That's right.
I was like, wow, these rich white boys want to give me cocaine.
They can afford to have it.
I'm like, wow.
Or their parents can.
This is what they warned me about in Dare.
For free too? Not today, mister.
You're trying to get me addicted.
That's right.
Anyway, don't do drugs, but like...
Yeah. I just imagine in like elementary school, it's like, oh, gee whiz, officer.
That's what I mean.
Sure.
Like, you're too little to like, if you're being offered drugs, you're in a whole different scenario that like the DARE program is not going to help you.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I was trying to get to. It's like, because there are like, there's a lot of meth in that area, and there is like a lot of, there's drugs, but like, I don't know a single kid that was offered drugs in that town.
Yeah. That's the thing it's like, I was always expecting someone to offer me drugs.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like, no, it's expensive. Why would I give you drugs?
So,
do you know how expensive this habit is?
Long story short, we have some edits.
Yes.
We want the DARE program and all its uselessness. Though I guess you don't really do DARE in high school, I mean.
No, I guess not.
You do like health class, but like,
we just,
they skip freshman year.
We had random searches. You had to stand down. Everybody came out at a class, and then they had a police dog going.
Oh, the dog just came in while we were in class. We didn't go anywhere.
Damn. They had us go outside.
Oh, they did that in junior high because they had to search all our bags because this is a very strange tangent. So I went to a very small country school for junior high. My graduating class was 30, maybe like 32 kids. And most of these kids had gone K through 8 at this school. So like they knew each other very well. My 8th grade year, the 7th and 8th graders, not me. I was a teacher's kid. I was not participating in this. That was a high risk activity. My mother was right down the hall. Kids decided they were going to bring in drugs from their parents' medicine cabinets, put them in a bowl, and take random drugs. But because this is 8th grade at a country school where like no one's being offered real drugs, like I don't even think a kid brought a Vicodin. Like I think the strongest thing in there was like a Benadryl or like an Excedrin PM. Like I don't think there was a single real drug.
Mm-hmm.
And so those kids got caught. They had their stomachs pumped to scare them. You know, it was like a whole thing, and that's
terrible.
That's fine. I mean, you know, like everyone was fine. No one, I don't think anyone took anything that was dangerous. And if they did,
getting your
stomachs pumped. Yeah, it was quite the thing. But then they had to do like searches. So they had the police dog come in to search our backpacks. And I remember I turned to my teacher and I was like, because I had severe allergies, so I carried Benadryl, an EpiPen, and an inhaler. So I'm like, I got a lot of Benadryl in my backpack, and like I know that's what they were doing, but like, and he's like, no, that the police dog is not going to alert to your Benadryl, Emily. And I was like, then why'd they bring the dog? Because no one did any real drugs. I think it was just to scare us, but it was just such a weird scenario where I was just like,
this is absolutely useless.
This is the strangest day of my life.
It's so weird. Yeah, there's nothing they would have caught.
But that's what the police force was doing, because, you know.
That's right. Good use of money.
Anyway.
All right.
We got lost there.
Oh yeah, a jock from Rosewood High School asked Tabby out for coffee to give her a tour of the town. She has a flash where like they have she has like a fantasy almost, where they have like I wouldn't call it a fantasy, daydream, where they have a nice date out on the town and they make out at his car until he won't stop and locks the car door. She snaps back to the present and says no to his offer. He's like, oh, okay, have a good night.
I almost think of it more as like a disassociation, like PTSD kind of moment where it's like she's just like trauma assuming the worst will happen, which is valid.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't think of like a good word to call it there.
Yeah.
Back at the Radley, Imogen is getting food from the vending machine when a hotel worker walks past. She asks if the woman knows Eddie Lamb. In Millwood, Kelly stretches on stage when she gets a text from an unknown person asking if she's Kelly or Karen. She looks up to see a looming figure dressed in a costume. I'm assuming from Swan Lake. I don't know the costume. And they're holding a butcher knife. She tries to escape and ends up getting cornered by a locked door. She screams out that she's Kelly over and over, covers her eyes, but when she looks back up, they're gone. Tabby comes back to the hotel room and Imogen says she spoke to Eddie Lamb, who, as it turns out, was an orderly at Radley Sanitarium. She asks about Mrs. Waters, and he's meeting them for breakfast tomorrow and bringing them an old visitor's log. Faran sees the plastic surgeon, and after the visit, she confronts her mom in the room and is like, hey, it would be like multiple invasive surgeries. They called it a grueling process, and the pain would be acute, but mostly tolerable. Faran's like, I then wondered if this is actually what I want. And Corey's like, well, of course it's what you want. You'll be that much more beautiful and stronger than ever. And Faran's like, okay, when you say things like that, it makes me feel like I'm not beautiful or strong. Faran wonders why Corey can't live with her scar, and Corey is like, well, everything I've done for you has been, like, I've done everything for you because they will tear you up. And Faran's like, the only person tearing me up is you. Imogen and Tabby sit with Eddie Lamb for breakfast. Tabby asks why he kept working there after the sanitarium closed. He's like, well, I was offered a job with the transition, and I had a mortgage. Fair enough. Imogen looks through the logs and points to the page which says that Rose Waters was visited by A. Waters, though there are 5 different signatures. He remarks that there were 5 young ladies who traded off and visited under the name. Imogen asks if he had recognized them and shows him a photo of their moms from 1999. He confirms that there were 5 girls. Those were the 5 girls who visited. Rose was being treated for trauma-induced psychosis and then schizophrenia. She never got out, but as soon as this... She never got out, and she was here until the asylum shut down. Some of the patients were sent to the Sisters of Quiet Mercy over in Riverdale, but others, like Rose, were released and bussed out of town. Fun. Rose had a psychotic break after her daughter was raped and then killed herself. And Imogen and Tabby are like, excuse me, wait, she was raped? And he's like, yes, according to Rose, it was right before she jumped to her death. Faran is in school when she gets a text from an unknown number that reads, the scars go deeper than you think. Yours and Angela's. Corey did wrong by you both. Check your locker. Faran opens her locker to find her medical file inside. She reads the page to learn that the doctor advised against the surgery and then flips to the next one that says with the doctor's note saying that the patient is approved to proceed with the spinal fusion on the parent's request. She goes to see Madame Giry, who reveals that Kelly dropped out of Swan Lake, and so she wants Faran to become Odile if she still knows the part. She can arrange to have the costume altered to cover her back, and Faran's like, I'll take the part, but I don't need my costume altered. Sean apologizes to Noah, and he's like, I shouldn't have said anything. She's like, no, it doesn't matter. Marjorie doesn't want to get better. If she did, she would, and I can't keep enabling her. Faran visits Henry, asking for his help in taking a new picture for her bio on the board. At the Radley, Tabby says something doesn't add up. Eddie said there were 5 different signatures, but my count, there are 6. Tabby adds that Angela was raped before she died, though she can't bring herself to say the word, and then Imogen tells her story and says it when it happened to her, it was the same night as Karen's party in March. After she took Tyler's phone and handed Karen over to Kelly, she grabbed a bottle of vodka and went to the beach to drink it alone. That's all she remembers, though, because she woke up in pain with her underwear gone and blood on her dress, and that was the night she got pregnant. Tabby asks if she knows who it was, but Imogen tearfully shakes her head. Tabby wonders if it was the same guy that hurt both of them. Back in Millwood, Marjorie takes a smoke break outside Pinball Pizza and buys a dime bag off a dealer. Imogen, Tabby, and Mouse and Noah gather in front of the Swan Lake board and remark about how Faran's new picture on there. They see her parents arrive and they quickly clear out. Corey goes to the board and sees that Faran's photo is of her back showing her scar, and her bio reads, the mother wound against the wishes of my doctors, my father, and myself. My mother chose a surgery for me I didn't need in an unrelenting quest for perfection. Tonight I dance for all the girls who have been scarred inside out. Corey then runs away and gets into her car with shaking hands. Noah finds Coach at the play and asks if she can still join the track team, and she says yes. The girls sit together at the play, and then Mouse notices that Steve is a few rows back. After the play, everyone compliments Faran for her amazing performance. Her father runs in and tells her that Corey was in an accident and is at the hospital now. The end.
Okay. Do we think the same person that assaulted Tabby assaulted Imogen? It was on the same night, right? The bonfire party, was that not?
It was over summer.
Okay, never mind.
But I'm assuming it will, and it just out of story reasons completely, right? Like
because it was Karen's party. Sorry, I was like the bonfire. I was confused on the parties.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Karen's party and then
when Imogen was
bonfire,
assaulted.
which I think Karen was also at.
Yeah.
I assume it is the same person. Yeah, again, strictly for story reasons, we're gonna get some sort of serial predator, I'm assuming, at the end of this, right? I think the thing that is interesting here, a bit of a thorny subject that they don't bring up with relating to, or they haven't brought up yet, with relating to Imogen, is why she chose to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting omission that the word abortion has not come up at all.
I also, because at the very beginning, she wants to abort it.
Right. When she's like, this is like, she starts freaking out.
Yeah.
Like 6 months in, right?
Yeah.
Because she's like, I can't do this.
Because her mom died.
Right.
I had mixed feelings about like that as a concept too. Like I kind of wish they had used this as an opportunity to talk about abortion as like a, an actual option and to not villainize it, or to also not like, there's been so many television shows that have kind of like, and this isn't necessarily doing this, but like celebrated or really like dug into the pregnant teen. And so I'm just like, I don't ever want that to be like a, I don't know. Like it would be interesting to see more content on, I was thinking about the movie Grandma we saw.
Yeah.
Where it's like Lily Tomlin's taking her granddaughter to go get an abortion. And
they don't name drop it, but Tabby in an earlier episode is like, yeah, abortion road trip.
Because she's like, oh yeah, I love an abortion road trip, like movies like Crossroads.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, let me start listing.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's weird that they could be saving it, right? It could be coming up, but I think at this point, it is very strange.
They've shied away from the word.
Yeah, or even why? Yeah, just like her decision in keeping it or not.
I could even see Imogen not wanting to say the word because she feels uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But like having Tabby say, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, and to like bring it up in context, not like like abortion road trip, but like. Yeah, I do wonder, is there some sort of like network thing, or is this actually just like a intentional skip, or like you said, is it going to come up later? We'll find out.
Yeah, because exactly. Yeah, we'll find out. Because we don't have her opinion on why she kept the baby.
No, we don't. And we know in a sense like her mom was like, oh, we'll do this together kind of thing. So like,
right.
We have that, but it's not really like a true thought process.
No.
Why did they take what's his name, Wes's car? She's like, I have my boss's car.
I missed that.
She's like, I've got my boss's car.
It is his car, huh?
She tells them that. She's like, I've got my boss's car. I'm pretty sure. So like she's weird. Like, Wes, give me your car.
I need to go to Rosewood for the weekend? Interesting. I have no idea. That's so weird. Because Wes is like not appearing in these episodes much at all.
No.
He gets one scene next time. He's just kind of falling out. Because I guess they were walking around. I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah.
I was like, that's convenient.
Right. But like, why?
Okay. That was just my one little like, I was like, huh.
No, that does throw me.
Okay, so why would Kelly want to keep Faran in Swan Lake? Or do you think she's just lying and saying that like, oh, Madame Giry would have kicked you out, but I saved you?
I feel like it's that Kelly is... I'm trying to think of like... like almost like a better person than Karen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she like there's at some point there's some process I think even with Faran going after her, she doesn't fully like hate Faran or anything.
Okay.
So I think it's not. I don't think because I am fully bought in that this is Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think Kelly is as manipulative and mean as Karen ever was. So I don't think she's ever trying to do that. I think she's a little bit more like
trying to fill in the gaps that Karen left.
Yeah, a little bit. I think there is part of that, but I just don't think she's got that, like, I guess, mean streak bone in her body. And I think because she is out to prove herself as not just
I don't know. The
Karen's-
scoliosis thing's really fucked up.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Like, that's mean.
Yeah.
That's straight up mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. But my read on her is that she was like trying to like be the one in charge. She doesn't want her out of there because she needs someone to beat, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Does Greg want Kelly? Is he just like, oh, this is a good replacement? What's going on? What's wrong
I think
with
he
him?
does, but he didn't want her before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He wanted Karen because Karen was the center of attention, right? And then it's like, this is a new fill-in because she's like the next girl. I think she's just prey. Going along with exactly what you're saying of just like...
The men are just villains.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly what she's, an object, a piece of something for like him to achieve and get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, there's an opening because like she's emotionally vulnerable, essentially.
Makes
it's
sense.
Being exploited.
Yeah. I accept. What I don't like about this A is that they kind of like, they don't play the game very well.
There's like no game.
Like A is like, are you Karen or Kelly? Are you Karen or Kelly? And it's like, she's gonna say Kelly regardless because we know you don't like Karen. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
In what world was she gonna say Karen?
This A is not a manipulator, a texter, a threatener, because we don't even get another A text until the end of the next episode.
Yeah, A is like booked and busy. A's got other things going on. I really do feel like this is a one-person show, whereas in the past with like the original Pretty Little Liars, you kind of go, how much help is A getting?
Right, exactly. It's A is omnipotent. A is everywhere, and it's like A here is just threatening.
Some weirdo in a mask.
Yeah, A is fucking scary. I will say that, but A is not keeping track of all of them. Even though they kind of say that, you don't get that vibe. I really do. I mean, obviously from their perspective, because they don't know where they're at and all that. Like, I understand the paranoia, but as a viewer, you aren't getting that A is constantly watching them and keeping tabs and stuff, because A just kind of checks in every once in a while. There's no elaborate schemes. There's no putting fillings in.
No. It's different, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it plays more into this horror slasher trope.
But I think it also like kind of downplays a lot of the A. Yeah,
because you're just like, oh, you're just getting a text message from some person in a mask.
Right, yeah.
Where's the call off your techno boy toy, or I'll tell the police what your mom keeps in the lasagna box or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Faran's scoliosis and her mom. So Corey is not a good person. None of the mothers are. That's kind of the vibe. That's kind of the energy we get for the most part.
Right.
What the actual fuck?
She is fucking horrible.
Like, and is that a thing? Like, would a doctor do that surgery because the parent requested it if they didn't recommend it?
I mean, I guess it depends on the doctor, but I guess if it was like, okay, I will go through with this even if it's not necessary.
But wouldn't you not document that, because then it could easily be construed as medical malpractice?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not a legal person or a doctor. I'm just a girl.
But like, it is an incredible trauma to put your 8-year-old through.
Well, and it's still impacting her. And the idea that she chose this permanent solution for a probably impermanent problem is a very interesting choice. It's also interesting because both what she did to Angela, what Corey did to Angela, and what she did to Faran leaves a physical mark on them. She has physically hurt these people. And she seems to show no remorse to either. And we get more of that in the second episode.
No.
But I think other characters of the older liars kind of seem a little more wishy-washy or more remorseful or more like, should we even at that time have been doing that, or like more regretful now? Whereas it seems like Corey in particular is just as callous as she was at 16.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just think is interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you hit nail on the head there. And that's really good pointing out that there's like physical scars on both of these people that she's hurt.
Well, and she's physically, like she's had a professional physically hurt them.
Mm-hmm. And she's so...
And lied to them to do it.
Right.
Gaslit them, I guess.
Uh-huh. The shit they did to Angela is horrible. It is so bad. And especially it's so much worse than Allie doing one thing to people, because it's a group of people doing this to one person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's awful. But Corey is so tightly wound, like to where she literally goes to the car and shakes with anger.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is intense and visceral, and that she's so caged in that she has to like, she can't like let it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's intense. Also, I love the view of, because is she in politics?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. Or a lawyer?
Oh yeah, she's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer.
Yeah, I love this like old school, like cramped cubicle office that she's in Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of set design once again, but yeah, it's the dynamic between her and Faran. And I love that Faran points out, it's like, okay, you know, when you say these things to me, it actually makes things fucking worse.
She's so good at her I feel statements.
Uh-huh.
Like,
she really is.
Like she's really articulate, and like in terms of like emotional, all of the girls are really, really articulate in describing their emotional states when they open up. They speak like people who have been exposed to therapy. Which is just like, I don't know if that's also just like a cultural thing, like, or I mean, an intentional choice to model for an audience by the writers. But I really like it, because I'm like, that's really helpful to like see someone say like, you know, when you say this to me, like I feel this way, not you know what I mean? Like to really focus on those I feel statements. I really like that.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Faran has really grown on me.
Oh yeah, Faran is like top of the list. I think Faran is my favorite.
Speaking of Faran though, what do we think of Henry?
He's like kind of weird, but he's got his heart in the right place. I think that's how I'd put it.
Uh-huh.
He gives off a like kind of like weird vibe, but like he is like actually kind of trying to help her. I think he's just intense.
Okay.
I don't have
a like read on him.
He's potentially on the list. So let's not cross him out, but I don't think he's like the top of my list. So I, just out of more paranoia, I just kind of think he's like an intense dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do kind of think he's just kind of like, he likes her and is like trying to do the right thing.
Speaking of guys trying to do the right thing, should Sean have gone to talk to Marjorie?
Marjorie, yeah. I mean, probably not. Okay, because it's not really your business. It's not your place, right? To kind of do that. And I can understand speaking up, like if you really saw something where like you kind of got to let Noah solve her problems there. Mm-hmm. You're kind of swooping in to be redundant, and it makes matters worse, because Noah was solving her own problems to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. It's like, you go to rehab, and that is not my responsibility. And even tells her mom, like, you're not good, and like I'm suffering because of it. Mm-hmm. And then Sean comes in and is just like,
well, and it's because she's embarrassed, or like that's how my read on it is. Like, it's one thing for Noah to call her out because that's her daughter and she took the fall for her and trusts her and she's seen her at her lowest. But then, and she even, I think that's when Noah even does the like, I thought you hit your lowest, but like really it was my rock bottom, not yours. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's really good. Another really good conversation, like example of a good conversation. But I think it really stands out how parentified Noah is and
Yeah.
how she has to be the one who keeps it together. And what I really like about Sean having done that is it shows that Marjorie probably wasn't going to follow through regardless, because if the
Right.
embarrassment of being called out on this by someone that she knows her daughter trusts is too much for her, like the idea of like rehab or like refacing her old boss or like going back to her old job, like that's going to be really hard for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of my read on it.
No, I think you're 100% right. I hadn't thought of it that way.
But we'll see what happens. And so it's like, well, I'd rather stay over here where like I'm not being judged
Mm-hmm.
than like go back to let people like, let people see me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's in line with everything. We talked about it before too, but with the show of like these women have never dealt with it and have calcified into these things, like these behaviors, these horrible, like destructive to people around them and things behaviors.
I assume that Angela was on drugs that night, and I assume she got them from Marjorie. That's my guess. Like from the way it's like, okay, who did what to her?
Right.
Like, I'm wondering if that's why Marjorie's kind of our most like neurotic about it, or like not even like just avoidant, I guess, partially. Like,
yeah, completely. I think you're right there, because I think you can then map because Marjorie is never like, right, is exactly avoidant and is using drugs to cover things, and then when we get in the next episode, like Elodie's grip on things is due to like her like kind of like burying Angela under the bus of like her queerness.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Elodie with Mouse, Steve is showing up at her school now. He's stalking her.
Yeah.
What? Just what?
Oh wait, real quick. For when you mentioned parentified, just, and I don't know if it's a common term or do people probably know what parentification is?
I don't know, but you can jump into it.
Okay. Yeah, just real quick. Parentification is where like the kid is like become the role of the parent within the like parent-kid relationship. So like how Noah takes care of everything for her mom. That's like parentification.
Good catch.
All right. So what do we think about Steve?
Well, and like what's going to happen? What's going on there? Like this is going nowhere good. And how long has it been going on for it to like now go south?
Right. How long has Mouse been doing this for other people?
And Steve.
Oh, Steve was this is the first time.
Yeah.
But how long has Steve known about Mouse?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
seems
because
like
he knows a
time.
lot, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I almost wondered if we got our like wrap up in the next episode. I'm like, are we gonna ever come back to Steve? Because Mouse goes like, we'll get to the thing, but she's kind of like, hush, hush, hush. Wait, what about my mom? So I don't know. It seems like we've kind of gotten to the point where I think Steve is on the way out, but like I really don't know what to do with this Mouse.
This plotline's very strange, and it just gets stranger.
Yeah, I really have if anybody has like a good
read on it.
Yeah, exactly, because I'm a little out at sea on it because I don't know where it's kind of like coming from or what it's supposed to do with like Mouse in general. Like I understand that it's like I think maybe playing into also this you're talking about men being threats and things. It's you're being kind to strangers in a way that's not above board allows them to try and exploit you, and like the dangers of allowing these people, like when you don't have when you feel like you don't have an option to go to someone to like help protect you, that they would then invade your space and not listen to your wishes.
Yeah, like the safety of something or the danger of taking something from online to in person, and kind of like how you can do something for someone that you think is a kindness, but it's really not helping them.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, why does she do this to begin with? And it's like, I'm concerned it's going to go into a she feels like something's missing.
Exactly.
Because she doesn't have a dad. And so I hope it doesn't do that, because that will frustrate me.
Yep. That is my big worry too.
We shall see. What do we think about Ash? Will she tell Ash the truth about Steve?
I think she has to.
Because he's like, I'm her dad.
Yeah. I think she has to. I think it's going to come.
And
But
what?
also, they're
So cute.
They are very cute. I think it was in between these episodes, but a commenter mentioned that the actors are dating in real life.
Yeah. We love that. We love a little showmance, you know?
Which is Malia Piles. We like the last name. And Jordan Gonzalez. We wish them best of luck.
We do.
We don't know them, but
hopefully they're still together.
Especially with the show, I'm not going and looking at things because I don't want to see spoilers. So, hope they're on that up and up.
Okay, let's talk about our Radley plotline.
Yes.
So
I was like, Radley.
Angela's mom went to the Radley before it was a spa. And
Poor Rose went to the wrong time.
It's now newly remodeled. It looks very different. It's very strange. But like I said earlier, Eddie Lamb recast. Is this supposed to be like, oh, it's way down the road? Because this is an older actor too.
Mm-hmm.
Or is this like a different timeline and this is a different world? Or is it just like they were like, anyone will do? Like, I'm very confused by this.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally get that you might not be able to find the same person or like they weren't available.
I just think it's a little rude.
I'm just like,
No, you can recast people.
Did we need it to be Eddie Lamb?
Okay, so was this one of the people that you're like, oh, there's a person in the first season? Is this the person you're mentioning?
Mm-hmm.
So I never would have gotten there.
I know.
I got to tell you something. I never think about Eddie Lamb.
So it's also kind of out of character that Eddie's like, here, let me just give you all this information, because like Spencer and Arya worked so hard to get so little from him, but then he also dropped things off at Ezra's door. Like, Eddie Lamb is the least consistent character on Pretty Little Liars.
He's not a character. He's a plot device.
That's
We
valid.
know nothing about Eddie Lamb. He worked
true.
as a nurse, and sometimes he goes, well, I can't tell you about that. And tells him.
Yeah.
So I just like that he kept his logbook around because he's like, oh, who knows? Some teens might come by. But
It's so weird. And he's like, oh, you noticed that? Like, he's reading these like at night? Like,
but my first thing that when we find out that Eddie Lamb is still working at the Radley, I'm like, was Eddie Lamb cursed to forever like work at this place?
why isn't he still a charge nurse?
Yeah, right, exactly. It's very funny that he goes from a nurse and he's like, I just work here now because they offered me a job.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
And I
sure.
feel like, I don't know. Maybe he
I
was
guess
like
he didn't want to
career
move.
change. Yeah.
He had a mortgage. They did say that. Whom I would like a mortgage, but because I was going to say whom among us. I mean, I got to pay rent.
So we also get mentions to, I believe, Welby and the Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
Oh, yes, Welby.
Welby's where they sent all the people from Adley. You've listened to this podcast, you know this.
Mhm.
The Sisters of Quiet Mercy is a thing from Riverdale, where there's this like really strange nun plot line that we'll get to when we get to.
One of the funniest things in the trivia that you like pulled in from the fandom website is just like, yeah, Roberto had to get out on Twitter, on their main Twitter, and was like, this is just going to be straight slasher. There's not going to be any supernatural stuff.
I mean, it's fair because like Pretty Little Liars played with a little bit of supernatural, and so did Riverdale.
Oh, maybe Grundy comes back.
Oh my God, Grundy. See, if they had a Grundy show up and she's like, go to the Radley, I'd been like, yeah, I'm
You're in danger, Imogen.
Because she's camp. Well, sometimes creepy. It depends on the vibe.
Yeah.
But she could be.
She lightens the mood.
And also, you mentioned it earlier, but Ezra's books, I'm like, did this replace the Brew, or is this a separate bookstore?
Mm-hmm.
Also, when I'm a very successful author, am I allowed to have a bookstore that just says my name on it?
Emily's Books.
Emily's Books.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. So the girls went to visit Angela's mom. And then, is it in this one that we get that there's an extra name, or is it in the next one?
No, it's in this one.
Okay. So there's a sixth visitor besides the 5 girls. Who is the 6th A. Waters?
So I'm wondering, because I'm just trying to pull. So now we have on the table potentially that Rose is still alive and out there, right? Because they literally bust some of the people from Radley just out of town, like the Super Bowl's coming to town and they're busting the homeless people out of the city.
Well,
Looking at you, San Francisco.
I think they took them to Welby because then we spent some time there.
Oh, it literally says buses them out of town. So I was like, oh, okay. Did they just literally? This is a real thing that happened in San Francisco. The Super Bowl came to town and they literally bust homeless people out of town.
Yeah, but these were patients in a facility,
right? Well, I mean,
not excusing that. That was not cool. But I'm just like, I don't think you just bust them out.
I think historically that's what happened when they closed a bunch of mental hospitals in California.
Oh, okay.
So Rose could still be out there.
That's true.
So
that's a good catch.
Right. So I don't think it'd be Rose, but I think Rose could potentially play in future stuff. Anyways, I have been wondering this whole time.
Well, it can't be Rose. Isn't Rose who was being visited?
Right. So that's what I was saying.
Okay.
I don't think this is Rose, but this is where my train of thought was going.
Okay. Yeah. I was like,
I got a little.
Rose is like, I left. I came back. A. Waters.
Maybe she switched. She had a swap.
There's a twin twist.
There's a twin twist. The A. Waters is her twin. Alex Waters.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, where was I going? Oh,
Nowhere.
I'm wondering just out of like in terms of people's other parents and stuff that are similar age, like what was Kelly and Karen's mom up to? Is she related to them at all? We don't know what she was like. Is she even from the town? She could not even be. But that's like the other adult I see like kind of like slotting in here and thinking and keeping in themes of like parents.
Isn't her name Martha? Martha. Yeah, because I do the Martha dump truck in the flesh. Like I always have the song from the Heathers. Every time I hear a name, I'm like, I wonder if that was on purpose. Like I assume most of the names are alluding to things. Like Imogen names her baby Clarice.
It's like, that's a terrifying name.
It's a horrible thing to do.
You can't do that.
Anyway.
So, yeah, I'm wondering if potentially Martha.
Okay. Any final thoughts on this episode before we go into the next one?
Oh, just want to double check if I had any notes. No, I don't think there's anything else. I think we're good to go to the next.
Okay.
Chapter 7, Carnival of Souls.
Okay.
Elodie looks through her mail and finds a strange envelope with her name on it. She opens it, finding a flyer from the 1999 Millwood Fall Carnival. She turns it over to read the message, "Meet me in the Hall of Mirrors." Back in 1999, Elodie and Angela enter the Hall of Mirrors and they start kissing until Davy walks in. Elodie then lies and says that Angela started attacking her. Davy snaps that Angela shouldn't think about coming on to her. And then, I think this is very funny, it's just like, back off, Xena. I'm sorry. I find using Xena as a shorthand for lesbian is really funny.
I don't get it.
They're using like Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, I only ever saw one episode of that. My cousin Katie used to watch it, and it was the one where like they were like hanging them. Like they were all tied up, and I was like very scared because I was very little, and I don't know what happened because I think I left the room.
So I understand why there would probably be a lot of people in the 90s that had, say, a gay awakening watching Lucy Lawless run around in, like, you know, tight leather things.
Her warrior princess outfit.
But so I just find it extremely funny that that's, like, the put down. Elodie tearfully burns the flyer. Imogen enters Tabby's room with news that Faran's mother has been discharged from the hospital. Tomorrow they have to tell the girls about their trip to Rosewood, specifically that Angela was assaulted, and wonders if they'll tell, and then Tabby wonders if they'll tell them about what happened to them. Imogen worries that like if she does, there'll be stigma for her baby. Tabby thought about going to police, but didn't because Sheriff Beasley's in charge. Imogen remembers a female officer coming to her home when Davy died, and is like, maybe that could be an option for you to go talk to. Faran comes downstairs while Corey is watching the news from her wheelchair. Faran asks if she needs anything. Corey's like, no. Zeke is at the garage getting her brakes checked, but they aren't the reason she crashed. She couldn't think, let alone see straight after the diva stunt of Faran's. My God, glass houses. Faran digs into her, saying she scarred her literally and figuratively, and she was in pain for years. Corey's like, well, I stand by what I did. At Millwood High, the liars talk about their mothers visiting Rose and wonder why A is targeting them and not Angela's rapist. That's a really good question. Why didn't A target Kelly and not Greg? Interesting. Noah names Sheriff Beasley as a suspect and drops the bombshell about her catching him assaulting one of the boys that she goes to community service with. I will say this is one of the funniest scenes because they're all going on and on about all these different things, and Noah drops this and everybody's just like pauses and looks like shocked.
I mean, it is shocking.
But everybody's just kind of like, yeah, okay, he could be a suspect.
Like,
moving on.
We can't even process this right now. I know, it is kind of funny. Yeah. Like, the way they process information as a group is funny. They're like, oh my God, it's like in the other episode where they're like, oh my God, Mouse's date. And I'm like, more importantly, you're being stalked. I mean, like, good for Mouse. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for Mouse and Ash, but.
It's so funny. Okay. They know all this stuff, but they know all these things, but can't tell anyone because they are still worried that A is keeping tabs on them. Faran talks to Madame Giry, who wants her dancing Giselle for next semester. She also passes on that Kelly withdrew from the class. Faran finds Kelly after meeting with Madame Giry and asking like to talk to her about this. Kelly's like accuses her of sending Henry after her because she thinks Henry was the one in the costume with the knife. Farron's like, did someone try and stab you? And Kelly's like, stay away from me or I'll have my father arrest you. Farran talks to the girls in the bathroom, fearing that she put Kelly on A's radar by voicing her suspicions about Kelly being Karen. In health class, Nurse Simmons actually teaches. They actually have a nurse teaching health class. And their newest...
I wouldn't know. Didn't happen to me. If I ever say something and you're like, how'd she learn that information?
School Hard Knocks. Their new assignment is to take care of an infant simulator, like a little baby. Chip asks Imogen to team up, and she agrees. Mr. Smithy gives the film class their final assignment of the semester,
which Chip is also in.
I know, so I was like, "Where is this timeline?" He's booked and busy, Chip.
Or are there two Chips?
Oh, Chip and Dip. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say Chip and Dale.
That's a little better. You can know that because Chip has the chocolate chip nose. Okay, film class. Their final assignment is to work individually to write, direct, and edit a short film on some aspect of their life, and Tabby thinks about the party in the woods. Ash invites Mouse to the carnival. She's like, my mom's would never let me go because when I was 5 years old at the carnival, the fandom literally writes the year and it's 2012, and I felt attacked.
They do put the years on everything.
Yeah,
and I'm like, whoa, okay.
I'm like, you don't have to rub it in.
In 2012, I was in college.
Personally victimized. She got separated from her mom's outside the fun house. A man came up to her, offered her cotton candy. It is okay. He didn't have a van, but is another thing.
Who's not going to walk away with a man with cotton candy?
And then let her away. She wasn't scared until her mom's yelled for her with a security guard, and the man ran away, and he was never caught. He was just a random stranger. But now every year they rent a cabin and leave Millwood for the carnival weekend. Ash says he's sorry that she went through this. Noah does sprints in practice, but is falling behind, and coach is like, hey, I have a trainer you should see. Faran and Henry rehearse in the dance studio. He lifts her up, and she gets a back pain. He asks when the pain started, and she's like, I've had it on and off for years. 8 years, to be exact. Most of the time, her pain is manageable, and if it gets too bad, she gets a cortisone shot at the clinic. Wes and Chip stop Tabby at the Orpheum, and they're like, hey, we've got a great idea for a double feature. Last House on the Left and Virgin Spring. And she's like, both of those movies both have graphic rape scenes. And Wes is like, you're missing the point. There's like a lot to this. And then Tabby imagines clutching her pen and stabbing him in the hand while he drones on. But then back in the present, Wes is like, well, if you're going to attend film school, you have to have a critical distance. She calls them bozos who venerate films without having a clue on what they're actually saying about sexual violence. I like that she calls them bozos. Mouse does homework. Calling someone a bozo is great.
Yeah, no one. I feel like you don't hear that anymore.
No,
you bozos.
Every now and then, there's like
a good bozo moment.
I feel like there, like people. I would see it on Twitter, but not often. It was like every now and then, and someone's like, "It's like, yeah." Not on Twitter anymore. Mouse does homework when she gets a text from Steve, who got them tickets for the carnival, and she then goes on her computer and finds his LinkedIn profile. At the Hawthorne house, Imogen struggles to soothe the wailing baby, but then Sid comes in and helps her, and is like, hey, I don't know if this is a good time. What are you doing with yours? And Imogen's like, I'm not sure. And she's like, well, you're very young, and I want you to have options, so I'm going to make you an appointment at the adoption agency. Imogen leaves her fake baby with the receptionist, Mrs. Bell, while she goes pee. When she comes back, the baby's gone. She panics and stops Chip in the hallway while classes are getting out. He recommends waiting a minute till things get quiet. They hear the baby, who Imogen named Clarice, crying and find her in a storage room, and pinned to the bib it says, "You're a bad mother," with the A being red. Chip then quickly tears off the note, and she asks him if he can tag team the assignment, and he agrees, and she's like, okay, first part of the assignment, you need to drive me to the adoption agency.
You want to take me to my appointment later? I love Imogen.
It's so good that she's like, okay, great. You're going to take me to this important life-changing thing. Potentially life-changing.
I actually need a ride. And since we're parents...
Why not? You got a car? I got someplace to go. Jiri talks to Faran about her pain as Henry came to her to tell her about this pain. Madame Jiri refers Faran to a doctor. Faran finds Henry after the meeting. She's not pissed at him, knows why he did it, but she finds that it's still messed up. People are out of business. He's like, I'm sorry for that, but I'm not sorry that you're going to get checked out by a specialist. She tells him to come with her, and he agrees. After school, Tabby heads to the woods and remembers the night of the bonfire and finds a clearing where a party took place, and then turns around and finds Ace standing behind her, but we realize this is just a dream, like a daydream sort of thing, PTSD sort of thing, and then leaves the woods. She heads to the sheriff's station to talk to Deputy Maroon, who is the woman officer, but Sheriff Beasley finds her first and calls her into his office and is like, hey, what do you know about Tyler? He hasn't been seen since your party. And she's like, I was protecting my friend from Tyler, who was belligerent and inappropriate with her. Like, I haven't seen him since, but I'm sure he's fine. And it's like, people like this in this town are always fine. She then goes to leave, but he's like, why did you even come to the station anyway? And she's like, well, I was here to pay my mom's parking ticket, but I realized I forgot them. Imogen and Chip meet at the adoption agency. She originally planned to keep Imogen says she originally planned to keep it, but circumstances changed. The woman says she assumes that Chip, the father, is in support of this adoption. He steps in and is like, I think whatever Imogen thinks is best for the baby is fine with me. In the parking lot, she's like, hey, why'd you do that? Why'd you pretend to be the dad? He's like, I'm not sure, but it seemed like you needed support. And she's like, I did. And he's like, well, let's get food. They go to Pinball Pizza and have a nice laugh, and he invites her to the carnival. Faran comes home to her mom and tells her she went to see another doctor that Jiri recommended because she has chronic pain. And is like, the doctor said the surgery was a mistake and I have to do PT, wear a brace, and stop dancing for 6 months. Corey's like, well, if you were in pain, you should have said something. And Faran's like, I did. And, but I'm not going to let you ruin my life anymore with your poor decisions. I'm going to get better the right way. Hell yeah. Noah runs on a treadmill for the trainer and he's like, well, you got cardiovascular shortcomings, but I got a little something for you. It's called an inhaler. And she's like, I don't have asthma. He's like, wink, I know.
Okay, but like, what is her cardiovascular Okay, I did a little Google because I was like, can you abuse albuterol basically, or like a rescue inhaler?
They literally, Noah literally calls it in the episode later. She's like, it kind of seems like a PED. A performance enhancing drug, the acronym as in like steroids and stuff.
So he tells her specifically to do 2 puffs before exercise. That's what they told me as a child to do, so I didn't have an asthma attack before I didn't exercise, right? Like when my asthma was really bad, I did it before dance class or before gymnastics. I did 2 puffs.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to do more than the dosage of albuterol and I don't even know if albuterol is one. Some inhalers have something that would show up on a drug test, but the quantity has to be like significantly more. So like I've never heard, and maybe I just live a sheltered life. No one offered me a lot of drugs until I was in college. No one was teaching me how to abuse my inhaler. I had asthma. I was using it for real.
Well, especially for like sports gains.
Yeah.
For like athletic gains.
But like, is this a thing? Like, I can't imagine this being a thing. Like, I Googled it and it's like, there's no studies that prove that like using an inhaler will improve your, like your sprints or your, like anything like that. So I'm like,
yeah. Where are they pulling this?
And every time I've had like a full asthma attack and had to do like a nebulizer versus an inhaler treatment, so you get a lot more of the drug, all I've happened to me is my heart races and I got the shakes. Like, that's not exactly helpful.
But your 40 time has never been faster.
I can't run. You went with me. I had an asthma attack one time. My hands curling. Like, I can't breathe. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's really funny.
It's so strange. So if you know if this is a thing, please comment, let us know, because we're not, the sports I did not have the, I mean, I was not, in any sort of drug testing. I've never been drug tested. So
I feel like this is kind of like similar to like how they brought a drug dog to school for your thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that's going to actually work. Steve is assisting a customer at his job at Tech Shack when Mouse shows up and starts asking if he sells tracking devices to stalk people. He then takes her aside and snaps at her, and she's like, snaps back at him, and it's like, I wonder what your coworkers would think if they knew you were harassing me. He's like, well, I know all about you too, including why you do what you do. You were almost snatched. I learned about that from your mother, who's in a support group with me in Somerville for parents who have lost their children. And she's like, wait, hold on, wait, pause 1 minute. I don't care what you're doing anymore. I need to know more about my mom and what she's doing. And he's like, yeah, it's on Tuesdays. And she's like, but that's what my mom's book club is. Wait a minute.
That's like one of the most innocent lines.
It's so good. Mouse then storms back into her room and cuts up photos of herself with Steve and the other parents, and then gets a text from A telling her the man who tried to take you wasn't a stranger. Sean invites Noah to the carnival with some of the guys from the football team. He asks how things went with the trainer, and she's like, I don't know how I feel about this inhaler I got. I don't know, Sean. I think it's bad to take drugs. The trainer...
I mean, I wouldn't use an inhaler if you don't need it.
Right. It's just
like,
weird.
there's side effects to everything. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to ever take things that you don't want, like, need, or aren't helping you. But like, it's just like,
it's weird.
Yeah, I'm like, what are her cardiovascular shortcomings? And like, would a rescue inhaler be the tool for that? Wouldn't that man just be like, oh yeah, you should do some zone 2 cardio or something?
Right.
Like,
or it'd be like, you might have asthma.
Yeah. Maybe you're having trouble breathing. Like, are you having trouble catching your breath?
Right.
Or like the horrific commercial with the little kid was, it's like, sometimes I feel like a fish out of water.
Oh, and then the fish is just
flopping on the screen. Don't you remember those?
Terrible.
Imagine having asthma and watching those commercials. Like, I was like, what a horrific, like, it was very traumatizing in a weird way. Because I was just like, I do kind of feel like a fish out of water when I can't breathe.
Terrible.
Anyway.
He goes on to talk about that some of the other guys had like seen the trainer, and she's like, are you using an inhaler? And he's like, no, but like, I don't think
this is all natural.
Yes.
Like, okay, buddy.
He's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a boost to help someone be the best version of themselves. I'm like, is he actually doping?
Yeah, he's gotta be.
Is that what we get? Because when he blows up later,
when he gets in the fight, I think he's doing roids.
Okay.
But I think he's doing roids.
Roids, not inhalers. Not albuterol.
I don't know if albuterol in a 2-puff dosage can make you... I mean, like, it can do, like, your body size and stuff like that. But, like, I don't think... Like, I never watched for rage when I used my inhaler.
Punched a hole in the wall.
Even my nebulizer, like, I'd get the zoomies for, like, 20-30 minutes, and then I'd pass the fuck out because I could finally breathe.
Well, right. Yeah,
you're tired. Yeah, because you've been coughing.
Yeah, totally.
It's a lot of work to cough.
Yeah, it is. Not being able to breathe is a lot of work. Mouse tells Elodie about her date with Ash to the carnival, and she's like, no, you're not going. Mouse is like, I am going to the carnival, and everything will be fine. Imogen talks to Tabby in her room about Chip, and like, is that going to be weird if like I don't want to be like go out with him if that's going to be a thing? And Tabby's like, no, he's just a friend. And you should definitely go to the carnival with him. She mentions going to the police station and running into the sheriff, but she's like, maybe I'll talk to Nurse Simmons about this because you seem to like her. Mouse gets stopped by Shirley on her way out. Shirley, her other mom.
I just did a Google, and abuse of albuterol can also cause, like, normally, like, if you use too much albuterol, it'll cause a dependence, and then you'll have more asthma attacks. Like, it's like if you're using it too often and they're not treating your asthma in other ways. Because, like,
I guess I should clarify, I don't think that albuterol abuse isn't happening. It's specifically the PED.
Okay, yeah, no, but I was more getting at like, so abuse could be like, let's say I'm having asthma attacks like 5 times a week. Like we need to manage my asthma in a different way.
Yeah.
Like so that you're not abusing the inhaler because you don't need it, but it's not, you know.
Yeah.
It's overuse is the correct term.
Me joking around about stuff is not to say that I don't think someone could.
Oh yeah, people, you know. But dependence on albuterol metered dose inhalers can also cause hallucinations and aggressive behavior. But this may be caused by the propellant. That's according to the poison.org. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I'd never, I mean, I don't know how much albuterol you're doing to hallucinate. You know what I mean? Like,
oh God, probably. Yeah, it's got to be a lot.
I just know like one of the side effects usually is like tremors, nervousness, anxiety.
Right.
So like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily want that to then go run. Like I don't want to get the shakes and go run.
Uh-huh.
I mean, sometimes I used my inhaler and I went and ran because that's what I was supposed to do, but I did not.
Right.
I needed it and it was doing its job. And, you know, I might have had a little bit of the shakes.
It was just like the baseline. It's not like I need to run faster. And so I need a little boost. Mouse gets stopped by Shirley, her other mom, on her way out. Shirley doesn't think Elodie will ever get over this close call kidnapping in the youth and doesn't know how long like she can continue to do this with her. Noah gets ready for practice in the girls' locker room and looks at her inhaler that's in her bag. Tabby visits Nurse Simmons about a quote-unquote health-related matter. She looks to the wall and sees a poster for the Thanksgiving blood drive and then gets an idea. It's carnival night. Mouse and Asher have fun at the carnival, and she says it's nice to have fun with her boyfriend, and Ash is taken aback, but is like, I would love to be your boyfriend. They smile and kiss. Sydney and Tabby have their mother-daughter time at the carnival. She asks about Tabby's short film, and Tabby goes to tell her about her assault, but she hears all the jocks celebrating and has a flashback to her assault. She then changes her mind about telling her mom. The Beasleys walk the carnival grounds with the absolute worst vibes on the planet. Martha suggests they go play cornhole like they used to, and Tom's like, there used to be 2 teams of 2, and now we only have 3 of us. Kelly's like, well, I'm never enough. And then Marcia holds her daughter and declares they'll bob for apples instead. Chip and Imogen.
That just seems like the grossest thing to do in like a public place. I've never bobbed for apples because I'm like,
I never have either.
I don't think it's ever been an option. You've also, we'll get to in a second, Brenton has never been in a fun house or a Hall of Mirrors. It's never been called a Hall of Mirrors. It's usually a fun house in my experience. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you've never been in one.
No.
I got to take you to a good country fair.
Yeah. We'll have to do that. So I'll go in the Hall of Mirrors then. But
I'll send you in alone.
I've only seen it in the movies.
They usually like they stretch and it's like the funhouse mirrors, you know, like they stretch you or they make you skinny or, you know, make you shaped like a hourglass or a circle or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just can't believe you've never been in one.
I've never been. I've only seen it in the pictures.
Well, baby.
Like the lady from Shanghai. People want that's got a really good climax. That's all taking place in the Hall of Mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good movie. Good noir, Orson Welles.
Okay, Tabby.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. Damn it, I can't even come up with a good reference to sound like Tabby. Anyways, for, not intentionally. I do it unintentionally. Chip and Imogen have fun together. She watches a couple make out and he notices and kind of like asks if she wants to, but she turns him down and he's like, I get it. I'm not boyfriend material. I just watch weird movies all day and like just pine after my best friend for the past 3 years. But like, and she's like, oh, no, that's like not it. And he's like, you know what? I'd like you more and more all the time. And you're such a badass. And she continues to go, he continues to go and she cuts him off and they kiss. Faran and Henley ride the Ferris wheel and he tries to cheer her up. She says she's upset at the situation, but not at him. She's going to dance again, but get better the right way. A group of Rosewood High School jocks bump into Greg and the other football guys, and then the 2 jocks start getting in an argument, and Sean taking the lead, getting really bad. And then the scuffle starts to escalate. Noah jumps in between. Rosewood retreats, and then Noah's like, Sean, who are you? Why are you fighting?
And
you're not this person.
The Rosewood jock was the one that talked to Tabby.
Yes.
And he was so polite when Tabby said no. Mm-hmm. But then these boys all got real mean at each other. Mm-hmm. I just think that's interesting.
Little winky arguments.
Yeah.
Little pissing contest.
Little pissing contest.
To steal from Bob's Burgers, peeing races.
I do always think that.
So good.
You peeing races.
Yeah. At a Mouse's house. So they put the last name in the fandom, and I'm like, we wouldn't know that off the top of our head. So Elodie gets a text from an unknown number saying, if you're not honest with Mouse, your worst fears will come true. Elodie then panics and goes to chase after Mouse, and Shirley's like, don't leave. And then if you leave, I don't know what you'll like come back to, but Elodie leaves anyway. A ominously watches the carnival from a high balcony. This is actually a really cool shot where it's just like all like black behind them, and then all the carnival lights, all the neon. Mouse and Ash decide to check out the Hall of Mirrors. Mouse sees A in the maze. Ash doesn't seem to see it. See A.
That boy has never once looked over his shoulder.
And then it's like, what's wrong? Mouse panics, and the two of them run around the maze. They escape out the exit door and run straight into Elodie. Once they calm down, Elodie says she needs to talk with Mouse alone to tell her the truth. She says the man who took Elodie wasn't a stranger, but her sperm donor. She doesn't say
biological father.
Biological father. After college, Elodie needed money and saw posting at the women's clinic for a couple looking for a surrogate. They didn't use an agency, though. They just did it themselves.
Do with that what you will.
Big question. So she was able to keep Mouse after birth. Mouse is like weird. Maybe
she just refused to give her over.
Yeah. Mouse is like, maybe he wasn't trying to abduct me. Maybe he's just trying to spend time with me. And Elodie's like, they weren't your dad. As in like, it just that person isn't your dad. And she thanks her mom for telling her the truth and apologizes for sending the threatening text to her off her burner phone. She asks if there's any other secret she wants to share, and Elodie swears there isn't. Imogen comes home and tells Tabby that her and Chip unexpectedly kissed. It was nice and made her feel normal again. And Tabby's like, well, maybe it's time for us to like tell the girls at least about like what happened to me, so like we can like they can help with something. If the person who attacked both of us like goes to Millwood, then she thinks she knows how to catch them. The liars gather in the cafeteria as Mouse tells them that A is officially back. Her mom told her the truth about a deep, dark family secret, and then her other mom kicked her out. So Elodie got kicked out by Shirley. Tabby announces that she and Imogen have to tell them about this thing that happened, but then seconds later, a group text from A, and it's a picture of Tyler's body. The end.
I think he's in a dumpster.
He's in, it looked like he was in the tub.
Oh.
So then that's when I was like, when did A take the photo? We didn't see that.
I thought he was like in a dumpster.
Could be.
I didn't look very closely, you know?
Yeah.
He was kind of small and he was painted blue.
I thought he was in the tub.
Oh.
From when A killed him.
Fair. Elodie kissing Angela and then telling Davy that it was Angela is some next level menace shit.
She pulls an alley.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, damn.
That's definitely I was like, oh, this is the kind of like menacing we're used to. But I also...
Because Angela's been through so much already.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I just don't love... Elodie's motivations make sense in the sense that she's like, obviously Davy is homophobic in her response. You know what I mean? Like, so like I
is the 90s. Yeah,
it's the 90s, and I get that as a context. You know what I mean? But I just hate that shows do this all the time. Like they always do this on a Pretty Little Liars show. They're like, what if we made the girl who kisses girls do something really sketchy?
Mm-hmm.
Except for Emily.
Right. Emily's the victim.
Yeah.
But in this case, Angela isn't a character in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Angela is just getting the emotional shit kicked out of her.
Yeah.
It's awful. They do so much horrible things to her.
Do you think the moms know who assaulted Angela? Do you think they know Angela was assaulted?
I don't think they do. Because it was supposedly on the night that she died. Mm-hmm. So it seems like she was drugged by them and then left to the wolves. Mm. That's my read on it anyway.
So they might know though, because I feel like people know that she was assaulted. You know what I mean? Like the guy at the train knew she was assaulted. So like...
He didn't.
Oh.
Eddie's the one that brings it up.
Eddie brings it up. Okay.
She just said, because they ask what happened. He's like, I think it was just because she couldn't keep up.
I got it. Yeah. You're right. Did A send Elodie the letter of like, meet me at the fun house?
Yes.
And then Mouse just happened to just show up there.
I think because of I think that's a happy coincidence.
A's getting lucky.
Yeah, I know. A's like, damn, look at this. Falling right into my pocket.
A's a manifestation queen. She's like, the world is always working out for me. Right. Everything is falling into place. Mm-hmm. I am exactly where I need to be.
That's right. I don't know why Mouse showed up, or what A was trying to do with Mouse. I guess maybe trying to kidnap Mouse to like scare Lodi.
Oh.
But I don't know what else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good that because A feeds Mouse to like suspect her mom. So then Mouse is like, I'm going to use my burner phone to like freak my mom out and get some details. Like when the rubber meets the road with Mouse, like we see Mouse like becoming like, she has a capacity to really get at people.
Yes, Mouse is really good. Like Mouse is really, it's the quiet ones energy.
Oh, 100%.
It's always the quiet ones.
Yeah. Uh-huh. She's like, don't push me, but if you push me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when she goes to like accost Steve.
Mm-hmm. So Faran, I decided, is our Cheryl Blossom. If you've seen Riverdale, you'll know what that means. If you haven't, when we watch Riverdale, you'll know what that means.
Wholeheartedly agree.
I think what I like about her character is that I think they're really good at writing a character like that. Like a girly pop she's part of the group, but she's not. She stands on her own, she stands on business. She's got this really toxic, I mean, they all have toxic relationships with their moms, but she's got this really particularly like twisted relationship with her mother. And I think we talked about Corey extensively in the last episode, but I think what they do so well with Corey is they make her so unlikable in this episode. They really show you exactly who she is. Mm-hmm. Before they've been kind of hinting and really like just like nodding at it. And when she's like, oh, we're alone now. So, you know, like let's have at it.
Yeah.
And like she won't do that in front of the father.
And just exactly, like just how controlling she is through gaslighting her. She calls did I put it in the notes that she calls Faran's act a diva, but she's the one who drove her car and intentionally got in an accident. And is now there being taken care of. So and it's also like I think I still did the right thing. And she does. Because she thinks appearances is over everything else.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. You know what I will say, because I talked about Corey being all like balled up, like just a ball of fury. In the previous episode, I didn't note it, but when Faran goes and talks to Madame Giry, and she just like is clenching her jaw and is like, I got some disturbing news, but I'm okay. It's like, oh.
That's like what's modeled to
mode.
her. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Madame Giry goes, I want you to be Giselle because I think you're ready. Giselle, as I like to call it, is a big girl ballet. It's a ballet that you have to apply emotional range to. And so I reread the plot because I remembered studying it in my dance class, but I could not remember the story because the romantic ballets of that era, the plots start to blur together. And you can ask Brenton because then I read him a couple and I was like, here's Giselle, here's Sylphide.
Oh yeah, Sylphide.
Like there's lots of
because I remembered that specifically. I was like, wait a minute.
But so in Giselle is a girly. She's a like peasant class girly, depending on the version, and she meets this guy and she's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing and I love him. And he is actually a nobleman pretending to be a peasant. And then she finds out and feels betrayed. And I'm pretty sure he's like engaged to someone else. And so then she kills herself. Because, you know, she has a mad scene and then she kills herself. And like the mad scene, I think is kind of like what a lot of people think of when they think of Giselle. And so I assume that's kind of like what they're playing with there. But so, and then in the end, Giselle, she becomes she thinks she's a Willis, but it's like this, like, kind of like she could be part of these like ghosty things that lure men away and they hurt men. But she saves the guy because she loved him and she doesn't end up killing him. And then she doesn't become one of those evil spirit things. Regardless, what does this say to us about Faran? Like, I keep using the ballets as like foreshadowing.
Right.
And I don't know if they are, but I'm reading deeply into this. No, so like, will Faran go mad? Will Henry betray Faran? Is Henry not who he says he is? Is that what this is meaning? Or will she have to save Henry? Or does Giselle mean nothing?
Right.
And it's just simply a ballet.
Just nothing. I'm going to go with because yes, I think that, thank you for bringing that. I think you're definitely hitting on something. Because even with like Black Swan, she's like coming into being.
I assume, does she play them both swans like you're supposed to in that version? Also, they have that ballet starting with her doing Black Swan, which I don't think that's how that works. They said Odile only, no Odette.
It's like embracing her dark side, essentially, is where she's popping out there.
So is she embracing her madness here?
Mm-hmm.
Is she embracing her crazy?
Right. And yeah, maybe we will get a shoe dropped on Henry then. Always suspect that.
I always suspect the men. Okay.
But I think that's really good.
Will Imogen keep the baby?
I'm going to say yes. Probably. Since it seems to be pointing to that she's kind of like hitting a wall at the moment with like adoption, and it wasn't really her idea, and she always planned to do it with her mom, but I think she's going to find that she's like, I can do this. I'm going to find the strength to do this on my own, as I'm assuming what's going to come of this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That I can do this. Like, I have the power to be able to do this. I'm assuming that's where that's going to go.
Fair enough. I just really liked Tabby's lecture on misogyny. It made me feel very seen because there's so many movies and things that people, or shows and people are like, you should watch this. And I'm like, I don't need a rape scene. Right. It's just not for me. Like, there can be nuanced discussions of assault, but like, do we need a lot of graphic on screen assault? And why do men love these movies so much? And what are they getting from it? And how are they interpreting it? And are they interpreting it correctly? I just think that's really like, it's a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know anything about Virgin Spring.
I've never seen either of those movies.
Yeah. And I think Last House on the Left, I believe, is a revenge thriller.
Oh, I actually watched, well, I was at a sleepover where we watched Last House on the Left, and I had a crush on a boy. And so I made out with him during the movie, so I didn't have to watch it.
Well, there you go.
Only boy I made out with braces. That's what I remember about that.
Gotcha.
It was obviously a very pivotal moment for me. I can't tell you a thing about the movie.
Yeah. So I don't, exactly.
Don't worry, it was before you. Since I was at a boy-girl sleepover in high school. I think it was like my freshman or sophomore year. It had to have been, actually. But yeah.
Right.
So
but what a movie for that.
Wouldn't know, didn't watch. But because I was always like, I've seen that movie, and I was like, Emily, you did not watch the movie.
Right.
You intentionally did not watch the movie.
It was on in the back.
Yeah, scared.
No, yeah, exactly. I think it's good, and like coming to her with that, it's like, but you should be okay. And he's like, you should view them as products of their time, and you need to have critical distance and stuff. And it's like,
some things are just bad in retrospect. Some things were bad when they happened. Some things didn't need to happen the way they did.
Right.
And some things are products of their time, but that doesn't excuse them.
Right, exactly.
And that doesn't mean you can't have a modern read of them. Or make them irrelevant in modern culture. There's lots of, ways to approach things.
Absolutely. But yeah, that it's the steamrolling, especially on top of that, of like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay,
so then Tabby goes to the nurse and she's like, girly, I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with you. Wait, JK, there's going to be a blood drive. And I have so many questions because I, Tabby, have not forgot that you were filming the boys in the boys' locker room. And now what is she doing is she a vampire? What is going on?
She's getting the blood bags.
I'm having a Vampire Diaries moment. I'm like, she's going to have a blood bag and a straw.
Exactly. A little bit of whiskey. Hey, because I don't know how they would test blood for anything. Because I'm assuming that's what she's trying to do. Maybe trying to test it with the baby?
Oh, like the blood type?
Maybe. Can you do that?
I don't know. I've never had a baby.
But it is a wild thing where she's just like, blood drive. It's interesting.
Chip and Imogen kiss.
Yeah. Okay, but wait a minute. Will we get some sort of wrap up on what she was doing with the film in the locker room?
And all the spoilers and things that I have seen, and I can't rember. Like, there's gotta be. I think there's gotta be, but like, I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't know.
I'd like a little explanation.
I have some questions, Tabs. I'm not judging. I'm concerned.
We're not mad, disappointed.
I'm going to be a great parent. Okay, so Imogen and Chip kiss.
Okay.
She kisses him to shut him up because he's on a ramble, a tirade. He's being a lot, but it's also very... I don't know if it's technically more like incel behavior, but it's very like, girls don't like me because he's being a whiny bitch.
No disagreement there.
And I'm just like, this is something that really irks me because as I've gotten older, I've realized that a lot of the guys that I thought I was friends with that like may have had a crush on me and I was like, no, it's okay. And, like, and I thought we were still friends. Like some of them as an adult, like don't talk to me or like ignore me. And that's fine. You don't have to be my friend. But like, I often wonder how many of them just finally gave up on their crush on me. And I just didn't fucking notice because the whole time I thought we were just friends. Mm-hmm. And so this type of behavior in particular just fucking sets me off because I think about it all the time. Because I'm like, why can't you just be cool? And I mean, in this case, he does like her. It is different, but it's the self-pitying. Mm-hmm. I watch movies in my basement by myself and wah. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to. Mm-hmm. You could go outside.
Yes.
Or like you could talk to anyone else. You could like, when someone rejects you, you say, thank you. Or, whatever. Like, you don't, well, I mean, it depends on how they reject you, but like, well, I mean, like, if you're like, if someone's like, oh, will you go out with me? Or you ask them and they say no, and you say, okay, like, thanks, like, bye. Like, and then you go find someone else.
Yeah.
You don't just sit in your basement. So I have a lot of qualms with this.
Yeah, I was
when I reject you, thank me. Not only do I expect you to remain my friend, but you better fucking you better thank me for the privilege of asking me out. No, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, no, I completely
you be a human and like you accept the fact that like maybe this person is maybe they're traumatized. Maybe they don't want to be with you. Maybe they're
just at the end of the day, if they don't want to, that's
why
fine.
do you want to be with someone who's not interested in you? Why do you want to be with someone who's not interested in you? Men looking at you. Think about that.
Well, okay. I do understand the pining for someone,
yes.
right? Then that's right. But at the end of the day, you can go and do other things with your life. It's not like you don't have to then put it on someone else when they reject you of going, oh, I feel sorry about myself. I'm so bad. You do that on your own time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. And like, I just think that it's the making it my problem.
Yeah.
Don't make it my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be nice about it.
Yeah. This is for for the other guys out there.
Yeah.
Listen, I understand the feeling of, oh, no one likes me.
Well, yeah, I think everyone gets like that. Yeah, I think the thing for me, it's like, yes, of course, everyone gets, like you want the person you want to like you back. That's normal. And it's okay to be like, oh, I wish they liked me, or maybe they will one day. But like, you also have to like go live your life and you don't get to make it everyone else's problem and you don't get to be a little turd about it.
That's right.
Speaking of boys, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the sports boys fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And it really highlights how awful boys are. Like, I just think it's a great commentary. Once again, like the theme of this has really been like about men and that they are so inherently violent. And like, as soon as Noah's like, oh, like, babe, don't be like that. Like they mock him for that as if like listening to a woman somehow makes him lesser. And he rises to that. And so I'm like, oh no, Sean's got a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's abusing his albuterol inhaler and he's angry.
Right.
Or he's doing like actual steroids because like albuterol technically it's not. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. But I did really like the highlighting like boys, this toxicity of boys, I guess is what it is, or like the toxicity of men, or young men. And they're kind of in that weird phase where they're boys, but only in the legal sense, and also like
the toxicity of this like bro-ish cult, right?
Yes.
Because these are especially the people that are the most dangerous, that we've seen consistently be the most dangerous. That's Tyler, that's Greg. That these like sports jocks that are like on the top of the school are also like much more violent and much more willing to like attack or assault women or belittle women.
Mhm.
Like out of everybody that we've seen so far, like this type of group, this type of, they are, if these people that are like these boys that are put into sports and things that are leading through sports are then like,
but aren't they also really bad?
Yes, they are. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's interesting. But yeah, boys suck. That's the vibe of these episodes.
Wait, yeah, the show.
Yeah, the show. It's the vibe of my life. I respect it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Except for you.
Well, thank you. But yes, you're talking about like really buying into like the male culture and things that we. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. But yes, it is. Male culture is
the toxic masculinity of it all.
Yeah.
How about that?
There you go. That's a good way of putting it.
There you go. Any final thoughts? Are you ready to take us to Theory Corner?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Let's go.
All right.
It's time for our club, our detective club. What was you called it?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's step into detective club.
It drives me nuts that these desks are not all in the same direction, and or they might all be in the same direction, but some of the chairs are on the wrong sides and they're put up on the wrong side. Like the bar is on the end closer to the front, so the chair should be on the back side.
Oh, right. To
you
be able to
wouldn't sit.
scoot in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
It drives me nuts. I think about this every time I look at this picture.
We actually do have quite a few episodes left.
But carry on. Sorry, that's not relevant.
So who set up these chairs? That's what we're getting to the bottom of.
It's a mystery.
No. So, okay.
Who's A?
A is... Okay, now we know. So A is getting revenge on the moms, using these girls as like some for a point, getting revenge on... Or using it to kind of drive that revenge on them. By like...
And also killing bullies?
Yes. But also not Greg, which seems very strange after Greg was then is like a terrible human being and is going after Kelly.
But does A know that Greg went after Kelly?
A was watching them. A is using the girls, getting after moms, blah, blah, blah. So I could really see A being a peer of theirs since it seems to know the moms very well and all that sort of stuff. So there's some part of me that's wondering if there is something to do with Martha Beasley.
Okay.
And is she related or a friend of Rose's? But I don't know if there's also like another connection there, like family member or something. Because there did seem to be the idea that there could be two people related to A, that there is like the person going out and do things, and then A is actually like someone else.
Well, and why would Martha kill her own daughter?
Right, exactly. So that kind of does poke a big giant hole in the entire thing. So I do wonder where Martha's gonna fit on this, if she does. She might not, and I could be completely off base there. So looking at the boys is where I start to raise a couple eyebrows here, and I am worried that Chip is gonna be revealed as maybe the assaulter. I am worried about that one. I was kind of raising a few eyebrows a couple weeks ago about some of his behavior. Nothing like super off, but like some of the things is kind of like, okay, was he actually there? Did he actually go to the party?
Mm-hmm.
Was he around? He was at the party that Imogen was at also. So we don't really know much about his home life and things, or like what's going on with him. So question mark there.
Well, we know that his dad made him get the job to like pay for a camera or whatever.
Yes, I didn't mention that in my notes.
So like, but that's all we know about his family, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that he's obsessed with movies.
Mm-hmm. I'd want to see what movies he's watching before we really judge him.
I think, well, yeah, that's true. So that's it. I have a question there.
Like the Barbie franchise? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Barbie Swan Lake, like all the animated ones,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Right.
I've heard good things.
I know. Surprisingly, I have too.
I don't know why you're surprised.
Fair enough. You know, this is
I was just teasing, baby.
biases. This is what we talk about here. And it's like, I wonder if like Chip is somehow related to Angela or something. There's like some sort of relation going on there. Rose also, I guess, could be the person potentially behind the it could also be one of the people behind A.
Okay.
Where they're like driving to get revenge on the moms and things. And I'm also keeping an eye potentially on Henry and Ash as well. But I'd probably go Henry more likely than Ash.
I don't think Ash has a malicious bone yet.
Yeah. And I will say also, some of the other things of like feeling my Chip is that you had a visceral reaction to looking at his fandom wiki the other day.
Oh, yeah. So I opened Chip's wiki to look something up, and then I knew some things about some of the characters already. And one of the things I saw that was right at the top of the fandom, so if you've looked at it, you'll know, I was like, oh, shit. And then Brenton was like, what? And I was like, nope. And then I scrolled, and then there was something else, and I was like, oh shit. And I kind of learned information in the reverse order of how I assume we will learn it on the show, just because like it doesn't make sense in the order I read it in. And so I was like, huh. But I mean, it does make sense. Like it wasn't that hard to track. Like when you find out what it is, you'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. But I was just like, huh. And then I was like, oh, like it was just so, yeah, I had some reactions. I think a couple of the boys are not in season 2. I haven't looked them all up yet. So it's not like that suspicious to me that like I don't think he's in season 2 necessarily, but because I don't know if Henry is either. I can't remember.
Yeah, we shall see what happens with both of them. But I just don't have a good idea really of who it is yet. I'm still grasping at straws here, I feel, for the most part. Because we know the relation between Angela and Rose, and we know the moms are going there. We know that someone else went and visited her. So obviously we think probably a contemporary of theirs, but we just don't have a good idea of who else was there.
What was Wes doing?
I guess. I don't know. How old is Wes? You know, I mean, he's
in
his
how
30s.
old? We looked it up. Where we did the math.
So but I mean, he's younger than all the moms.
But couldn't he have been related or tied in somehow if you're doing this? If you're doing the same thing with Chip,
potentially. I think because we've gotten him being so nakedly gross off the top, I don't know if there's like as much of like him being tied to A and things.
I just realized we have another Chip. Right? Isn't that Betty's?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. In Riverdale.
That's in Riverdale.
We'll get another Chip who has a. Actually, if that I don't even know what that wiki would say.
Oh, good Lord! It depends.
It depends on which one you get. We'll get there when we get there. But just you're all about to be so. It's gonna be dark. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be dismal. Any final thoughts? I interrupted you.
No, I don't think I do.
You're lost, and that's okay.
I am. I'm really scratching at my brain because it's like I don't know
You're lost
how
in the
anybody
woods.
else connects to anything.
No,
because it is kind of just zoomed in on the girls and stuff. So
what I do really like about this and the way it's set up is that it's less like original Pretty Little Liars, where it's like plotline. Here's a plot point. Here's something you're never going to hear about again. Like they were just throwing everything in to confuse you, and this really does seem to have like thought through lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is nice. Well,
it's a good change of pace.
Yeah.
We'll see you all next time then. Thanks for coming.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Don't forget to grab some cookies on the way out.
We can't eat them.
Loft House cookies.
I can't eat them.
I can eat them. The grocery store cookies.
Celiac, so.
They make them for kids with peanut allergies now. Life is good for me.
Yeah?
My life is good. Is your life good?
It is.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No, I think we've about exhausted all our thoughts for this extra long episode.
We've exhausted ourselves.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about.
We did. Well, and we're coming back from having been off and being sick. So, like, we haven't gotten to ramble in a while in the same way.
No, And these were good episodes. So, we had a lot to go off of.
Well,
you could find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms at Dead Ends. You can also find us on YouTube at dead_ends. You can also leave us comments there, send us emails like thoughts and things. Oh, and also you can send us questions for our final PLL wrap-up episode that'll go at the, if we get a lot of questions, we'll potentially do that at the end of everything that we watch on PLL. So send us questions in for that. I'm going to co-host is shutting down. So I decided that when we start up Riverdale, I'll start up another social media page for us to keep up with, because then I'm not worried about spoilers because I already know what happens on Riverdale. So nothing there. But yeah, you can send us emails to deadendspcast@gmail.com. And it's also in all the description boxes. So we're still here. We're going to find out everything.
Okay, love you, bye.
In a couple weeks.
Now I can love you, bye.
Love you.
Someone told me once that their favorite part was at the end when I go, okay, love you, bye. And so I always try to make sure I remember to do it because I don't always do it every time. And I'm like, if you didn't hear it today, I love you.
And I'll join in today. I love you too.